schon mal laufen. Und
alles klar.
ich komme einfach so. Ich komme jede Viertelstunde mal kurz rüberschauen und gucke.
Ich denke, es geht auf jeden Fall. Ich denke, das ist gut. Okay.
Gucke ich, dass ich auf jeden Fall dann wieder um 45 einmal da bin. So, wenn wir dann das Nord oder schon fertig sein.
Danke dir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our talk this afternoon here at Grohe at the WorldSkills Special Edition in Lahr this year and today. We just talked about, is it like in the church atmosphere, do we need a warm-up? I don't think we need a warm-up because you are just very full of energy and you're expecting a really nice and very interesting round of talks. But I would like to ask you, can you give me a very warm applause so I can understand you're full of energy? Do I get one? Yeah? Thank you so much. That's good. Because the topic we want to talk about tonight, today, in the afternoon, it's not tonight, is about vocational training in times of climate change. And we ask ourselves, what are the tasks to generate a sustainable future? And then we will understand there's a very close link. There's a link between educational area, between trainings and the needs of a future. And ladies and gentlemen, this talk it will be streamed and will be sent out to the world. So worldwide, now our audience is watching us and following us. And I have two really, really skilled guests with me. Firstly, it is Viola. He's the CEO of IAPMO, the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials. Dave, you're with IAPMO since 2007, but you have more than 25 years of senior management experience. Welcome. Thank you very much. Next guest is Thorsten Sperlich. He is the leader global environmental communications of LIXIL, and his task, he says, is strategic leadership on our global environmental strategy of a company and its portfolio brands. And your focus is climate, water, and circularity. Welcome, Thorsten. Welcome. I mean, it was very interesting to talk to you as a preparation for the talk today. So we talked a lot, and we understand it is not only a question and answer round, it's a discussion more, and you, dear audience, you are invited to participate in that. If you have a question, if you have something to add, if you want to talk about things which are interesting for you as well, please raise your hand. And our colleague, it is Melissa. Here she is. She has a microphone, so she will join you, and you can post your question or your statement. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, in these times we experience extreme weather phenomena all around the world, and climate seems to change, and it does change for sure. And let's say that it doesn't matter how big the influence of human being is, the crucial thing is we have to react now, and we have to take care about these changes. Otherwise, we will lose our resources, and we will lose our basic of existence, and especially water. Water is a basic resource. So, Thorsten, I would like to ask you, first of all, just to understand what is your background, can you briefly explain the interconnection between LIXIL and Grohe brand? We are now in a building at the plant of Grohe. What is the LIXIL brand about?
Well, LIXIL is a Japanese, construction industry company owning lots of unique brands. American Standard in the US, but also Grohe is one of the brands since 2014. So, the Grohe brand is one of the most iconic brands that we have, and one of the most sustainable ones also. We'll come to that in a later stage probably. And the LIXIL company itself really has the ambition to move forward the needle on the environment actions and really have an impact. And I think that's why they created my communications role. It has been deeply rooted within the company, especially the Grohe brand, for 20 years already, but giving a communications approach to it and put a real spotlight on it has been pretty new. So I'm in that role for now a year, and trying to educate the company, but also talk to our external stakeholders and partners how we can even move faster and better.
So it's really important to change your mindset of the whole company as well. And that's totally a big task.
Totally. Especially when you look at the global lens, There are different maturity levels on climate expertise within the different regions.
And Dave, you're working together with LIXIL to change mindsets, and what is the role of an industrial partner for IAPMO, for example?
Well, it's been a great beneficial relationship with LIXIL. IAPMO, in our role, we are devoted to public health and safety, and our core competencies are related to modern plumbing codes, product standards, product testing, and product certification to be in compliance with plumbing codes and standards around the world. And LIXIL and Grohe have been a very strong partner of ours to get them access to markets around the world. And it's been, IAPMO has established a charity organization called IWISH, International Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene Foundation. And it's through this effort that we've been able to collaborate with LIXIL to basically bring water and sanitation to those who need it most, disadvantaged communities around North America and around the world, and bringing LIXIL resources along with our knowledge of health and safety standards and what's needed to be done from how to recycle properly, what needs to be done from standards and regulations. It's been a nice relationship.
And is there a matter of conflict? We have a special need for our sustainable future. We need skilled workers and specialists to solve the issues we have in the future. And you talked about some natural catastrophe you had in Texas last time, and there's a big need for skilled workers. So is it a matter of conflict that you say bring in as much workers in this field, just don't taking care of how skilled they are, or is it very important to say no, we need the skilled workers because otherwise we can't solve conflicts in future? That means it's solutions on short term and solutions on long term.
So you bring up the natural disaster and our challenges with regard to expanding our workforce in the plumbing space. And many of you may have been aware of the Texas freeze disaster we had in February of last year, where the climate in Texas is not used to deep freeze, and plumbing systems they were devastated. They were frozen, and when things thawed, many homes and businesses had catastrophic plumbing problems, and there was a lack of plumbers available to actually tackle the crisis. So climate change put a spotlight on the lack of workforce, And there was pressure from regulators to actually reduce the level of competency to allow more plumbers to come in and do the work. So that's the wrong answer to solving short-term problems. And also it's the wrong answer to long-term problems, because plumbing is more complex than ever before. And we're trying to deal with gray water and rainwater and even black water. And we're using water-efficient technologies that reduce the amount of water coming through a plumbing system. And we have old aging pipes that are larger and less water coming through, less disinfection to kill pathogens. So now you have pathogens to worry about if you're not properly designing the systems. So you're creating risks. So if you have less trained professionals working on our plumbing systems, it creates a very serious challenge for us. So at a time when we need more qualifications and more of those people who are qualified, we've got pressure on the industry to actually reduce the qualifications so that more can be brought in. It's a rather challenging time.
That means the topic's very complex. We need skilled worker. We have to attract more young people and female apprentices, for example, and specialists. And we have to solve some let's say, challenges in the future. Thorsten, do you see a way we can find a solution for that to solve all these challenges, or to fulfill that?
Looking at the glass globe to see what's the right way to do it. I just hope and I just feel that the younger generation is much more open and openly connected to it and have it on their first radar that climate is an important topic. And we discussed it before. I think young people want to take action now. They're not only looking to really make money, big money, but they're also looking at how can I really make an impact in this world and do something good. And I see the climate change happening actually in front of the door. You don't need to look at some underprivileged countries. You have it right in front of you. Heat waves, the freezing, the Alabama topic that we discussed, plumbing problems. So I think, and I hope there's a generation coming up that really has the first sense for climate change and really willing to take action. I don't know what your experience is, but I think this is something that's hopefully on a positive mind going around.
So it's a big hope into the young generation. And Dave, can you see already a change in daily work and daily workflow in relation to sustainability and in relation to reduce water, to have more hygienic systems in a house?
Absolutely. IAPMO is a global organization. We have offices in the U.S., in the LA area, in Bangalore, India, in Jakarta, Indonesia, and in China. And in many of those areas, they're very water-starved, very stressed. And if you've read the news over the last few years, those are some of the most stressed water areas in the world. So we live on a daily basis in those challenging times. And so we've been working across the globe with incubating technologies and working with our partners to find ways to write standards more efficiently, because sometimes it takes a long time for standards to be developed. So to do it in a way that fast tracks technology so that it can be put in the marketplace to make a difference, and then get it into the regulations, because you need the standards first, then you need the regulations to be changed, and it could take decades in the old way of doing things, and we don't have time to wait for that. So our role in our space, IAPMO, is to try and link and incubate and bring technology to the marketplace, and then bring the next generation of people along with that journey. In Australia, we have an operation there that's focused to water research, connection between our partners, the Plumbing Industry Climate Action Center, and our product testing and certification businesses, and PICAC, as they call it. They are the organization that trains plumbers, and they're dedicated to the climate and and we're the ones bringing new technologies to the marketplace. So what better fusion to actually have the new technologies before they're even accepted? They're being used and modified, and we're getting that feedback to adjust the standards and the codes so that we have this faster from incubation to market for these technologies that we need to address the problems of today.
Does that mean the users at home, your clients, or plumbers, sometimes they don't know about the new technologies? Does that mean it's not only fitting or a copper tube or something like that, or fitting with material equipment at home? It is more being a consultant as well, as a plumber and heater, you have to be more a consultant because you have to explain there's a new technology, you can save money, so why don't you use a warm pump or a heat pump, etc.?
That is our role in the industry that I see in any way is we are a bit of a consultant. We understand the regulatory barriers that exist. We're a part of the industry, so we understand the challenges that are there, and we have a strong connection with our partners who are incubating these technologies. So we are consultants, as you will, to help them adjust and tweak technology to address unwavering regulations that are not going to be able to be adjusted, but to still get the technology into the marketplace. And while we're doing that, exposing the youth that we're connected with on those technologies as they're being developed, so they're along for the journey. And when the technology exists and it's out there, they're already aware of it and knowledgeable so that they can get in the workforce and actually do some good immediately.
Just bringing the topic of industry as a consultant to you, Thorsten. I mean, LIXIL and Grohe, you got many awards because of sustainability and sustainable concepts. We understand you take it serious and you want to change something and you're looking forward to the future to have a sustainable production line and outcome of your company. How important is that for you, and can give you some best practice out of your company for that?
I think it's good to understand the situation we're in as a company. There are certain regulations we need to fulfill in certain countries. For product development, we have investors who are looking at our sustainability roadmap, what actions you're taking. We have customers asking us, how can you help me becoming more green? And then with the end consumer, where we need plumbers and other, let's say, ambassadors for the product side. So we're really in the nucleus, I think, of all these different stakeholder situations, and there's a lot of pressure on it, definitely. And it helps if you're on that road already. So Grohe, as a brand, has been on 20 years on the sustainability road with innovations, and we are communicating a lot about it. So I think everybody some kind of senses already the direction. And I don't know if I can help on this, but I hope I get this energy out of the company, out also to interesting people who are looking at the product, saying, "Wow, that's a great solution. That's a new concept that they are developing." We just introduced an endless shower concept, where you recycle the water. The water is not misused all the time. All these concepts are really, I think, gaining lots more attention and maybe hopefully attract people, saying that's an industry that's really moving forward. And I mean, the construction business is one of the ones who uses most of the stuff that has been polluted. So we have a big obligation as a construction industry to help save this climate change. And I hope that our work together on a CSR perspective or environmental topics help to really raise attention to that topic.
And we just talked about that a couple of minutes ago. You said vocational training and apprenticeship has to change because in the future there's no choice. We have to be sustainable because otherwise we lose our base of our life. How do you think can affect that, what you produce? Is that you need more skilled workers to bring the new techniques to the customers, or what do you think what is very crucial for future training?
For me, it's still educating about products that exist already, flow restrictions on a faucet, some other basic techniques actually. When you lift the lever only in cold start situation, you don't produce any kind of energy because there are solutions for it. And I think the plumber is also a good ambassador to teach the end consumer about this. And this is quite unique. If young people really are interested in doing something good or having an impact, be an ambassador in the sanitary industry, be an ambassador for all these products that exist, or develop them with us together. And I think this is one of the unique things I think that we could do as an industry here. But we need the plumber, of course, on our side. And he needs to be skilled and willing to also shift his way of working with different technologies. I mean, an endless shower concept behind the wall is much more complex than the current situation, So you need to have much more skills. Sometimes there's more digital experience to it. So, but that's maybe also a hope, if you also get into the digital sphere a bit and help creating these technologies, and that hopefully attracts also younger people.
don't know if I'm allowed to ask it, but how can you differentiate yourself, a company, LIXIL, from maybe other companies who are doing more sustainably things because of, let's say, marketing or maybe greenwashing, who do not understand that there is a big need for the future? How can you do that so that people understand what you're doing is really honest and not a marketing concept?
If you're very transparent on where you are on the current road for sustainable actions, don't promise anything that you cannot fulfill. So we are currently developing a new strategy for environment for the whole company, and we are really looking at the KPIs and saying, are they ambitious? Are they too ambitious? What will happen in 2030, 2050? Will we reach these goals, or will we fail? And I think you need to be honest on what you can really achieve and not overpromise anything that everybody will detect as a greenwashing situation.
That is really
I think there are a lot of NGOs looking really closely at what you communicate, the wordings you use. So that's really, there's lots of clearly looked at.
Dave, what is your opinion about that? You have a feeling it's more outside pressure? Companies are feeling it's a way change, or is it a self-motivated change?
I think it's all the above. Manufacturers need to exist and compete and stay relevant and produce products that are useful and necessary. And we are going to be mandated to use these innovative technologies at some point. It's not just going to be optional. So to have manufacturers committed to finding the solutions and doing it in a way that's transparent and bringing the industry along for the journey, that's key. And in our role, we help in that journey as we're kind of the bridge between industry and regulators and NGOs to almost to help validate and verify through our testing and certification work that this is making a real difference.
I would just maybe add, we can only do this in partnership, even with competitors. I mean, we've introduced with the Grohe brand the first cradle-to-cradle faucet. A faucet that can be reused in the full way. You can put it into small pieces again and really build a new product out of it. But that's just the first indicator that you can do it in the sanitary industry, but we need other partners to do that because there's no clear recycling process, take-back processes need to be implemented by the government. So these regulations you cannot do alone. You need partners, and partners are also the competitors at that one, to have this as a new standard or a new way of producing or reproduce or recycle certain products. So there is a certain partnership also necessary on the climate topic.
Do you see any opportunities in this? That means we have a need to change many things. To produce products, why you produce it, you have to reduce your energy and maybe water and all the resources. And the second thing is you have to take care of the changes of climate. As you said, we will face more and more climate catastrophes like cold stuff, like in Texas, etc. Do you see any opportunities for a company as well? Because you can have more innovation, like you said, with a shower, etc.
I think if the top management really has a close eye and put this as the first top of the agenda, that sustainability is one of the things we need to direct. I think the whole company can move, all different departments. So I'm glad that across departments we have a lot of collaboration, the R&D department, the marketing, the comms side, the category management to really develop and have new ideas about certain products that are there. And I think you really need to look outside and listen and see what kind of necessaries do we have, especially in certain areas where there is no clear water or something like that. There have been lots of topics, I think in the US recently, in Tennessee or somewhere where water was lacking, So what do you really do and what kind of innovations are necessary to help in these different regions, or the Californian standards that we have, for example, also.
Do you agree to that? And do you see more win-win situations if we think sustainable?
Oh, absolutely. We have no choice. And if we're smart about it and proactive enough, don't wait until we're pushed to make choices and we're forced to design products. I look back at the Energy Policy Act in the United States back in the 90s, where the government basically said, this is where we're going. Your toilets need to flush this volume, and shower heads need to flow this flow rate, and the products were horrible. And manufacturers weren't there. They didn't have products that could properly meet the expectations of the consumer. So we don't want to be at that position where we're so desperate that desperate times require desperate measures, and we're forced to make difficult decisions and cut corners on due diligence. So I fully agree with that statement.
That means you should be proactive, more proactive, and not reactive.
And you have to anticipate what's coming up, really foreseeing a bit where the direction is going.
Yeah.
And of course, certain regions in the world are moving faster. And I think Europe is one of them, with the Green Deal and what is happening also on regulations on that one.
Yeah.
But this might shift also to other regions soon, so why don't we anticipate to invent new products for the other regions also already?
I would like to ask the audience, are any comments from audience, questions? Where are my icebreakers? No one here at the moment? Please don't hesitate. Otherwise, I would like to ask you, because that was a very crucial thing we discussed as preparation for this talk as well. Who should be in the leading position, in the driver's seat? Is it policymakers? Is it the industry? Are these clients? Who is it? Who should be in the leading position for that? Dave, I start with you.
I would say the industry needs to be in the driver's seat. They're in a far better position to see what's happening out there, make decisions, make investments. The regulators don't move very fast. And when they do, you need to be concerned because they're doing it for desperate reasons. Again, back to bad decisions can be made. But we do need to bring the policymakers along for these decision-making processes. So you want them at the table in the standards development process, in the regulatory framework development process, so that when it's ready, you can immediately get the green light from them to basically say, let's move ahead. So I think that's the way I see it.
You feel the same way? No, interesting side note. Yesterday, the Element Trust Parameter was revealed, and they had a special on climate and environment. And there was a change that CEOs are no longer so more trusted in communicating sustainability topics. It's rather the regulatory side. So the people currently trust more on the regulatory side, that they find the right ways of doing that than really the industry and that topic. Interesting for communication also, Yeah. So the outcome was really get some more scientists and regulatory side on your side as a partner to have a credible sustainability movement within your company. So I found it quite interesting. Just released yesterday. So I don't think there's the leader, because I think it's always a partnership. So I wouldn't decide on anyone. They need to go hand in hand anyhow.
That's really interesting because, for example, in the state of Baden-Württemberg now we have a new regulation. You have to put in every new building a solar panel on the roof. Now people are forced to do that. But my feeling is if a client, a consumer is not changing his or her mindset, we will never have a change, because you can produce products whatever you want. If we are not willing to pay for it, or if we do not understand, we have to take it in our house to save water, to have more hygienic systems, to drink water out of a tap so we don't need plastic, etc. I have a feeling we never will have a change. So my feeling is it is the street, it is the customer, the clients who have to change.
But that's the partnership, listen to the ones on the street, but also push them maybe in the direction that we have to go through. Because if you ask someone, do you want to pay more? They wouldn't say, no, I don't want to pay more. But if you pay more and it's, over time, it makes sense and you even save money in the end, then it becomes, a topic.
We should ask our audience, ladies and gentlemen, please give us your vote. 3 options you have. If you have a feeling it's more of a policymakers who have to do the regulations so we can change it, or do you think the role is up to the industry, it's more important, or you think it is the customers or clients? And you can give me 2 or 3 options. You don't have only to give me 1 vote. So, firstly, I would like to ask you, do you have a feeling it is more the policymakers? Please raise your hand if you have a feeling policymakers have to change regulations for a sustainable future. Some few hands, yes. And who has the feeling it is more the industry? Some more, yes. And the next one is it up to the clients and to the customers we have to change? Less. So it's more of an industry. But gentlemen, I think you wanted to say something, Frank?
Thank you. I kind of look at what you're saying, hearing what you're saying, and it sounds like it's all three that come into play. Because you can write all the policies you want, but if you don't have the product, you can't produce it. And if you produce it and you have the policies, the end user won't use it. It seems like it's got to be a collaboration between all three in order to make that happen and be sustainable. So you have the end user that wants to save water, the manufacturer producing it, and legislation for that product to actually be used. So if you don't have all three together on the table, all agreeing to it, it doesn't happen. It seems like where I'm at, in my part of the world, we have legislation and then the product comes out and then the end user is forced to use it. Or designers are pushing for it because they're getting lead points or gold points and the building becomes a certain standard. I think really honestly, if you don't have all three, you can't get it to happen, and it always happens in steps. I think if we get all three at the table at the same time, that's where you're going to see the difference. Thank you.
That's a really good hand. Thank you so much. Who wants to react on this? Dave, maybe?
Well, he's my boss, so I can't disagree with him.
Okay.
I'll follow up on that. Steve, he's also a regulator, so he's looking at it from that vantage point, and he is the person in the city of San Francisco that has to be part of that journey. You can't get your technology installed in San Francisco unless Steve is comfortable with it, it's compliant with the regulatory environment, and so bringing them along for that journey does make sense, and that goes along with what I said earlier about the incubation process. When you're incubating technology, you can't do it in a vacuum. You need to know what the customers need and want, and you need to know what the regulatory playing field is, and also what the regulators are looking for and what they need to help their solutions. So incubation is really what that is. So Steve's right.
Thorsten? Can agree. That's what I said. Partnership across all three of them is definitely really important. I would even add the customer side because we're with the plumbers. I would even call it as the nucleus. But I think it can only work together. Like, cannot do it alone. And you have to listen to the society also, what they're open for.
Just to get an impact from society, you have to be open-minded.
But it's educate them. I mean, education also is something we discussed also when introducing new products. There's also this educational piece next to it, Not only how to use it, but why to use it, how can you save water with that, what is that on your bill at the end, I think this educational piece is really important for every stakeholder engaged into climate change.
And information like communication, because honestly, I was able to listen to your trucks during the past days and on a fair in Essen. I was really surprised what things already do exist to save money, to have really a sustainable home. And I think the very first beginning is at home, at a place where I'm living and clients and customers are living. And if I can't get the news and the information to the clients and the customers, it's impossible. And don't you think our skilled workers, our specialists, plumber and heater, are the ones who have to bring the information to the people? Don't you think so?
I would agree. That's why it's critical that they're involved in that training journey when innovation is evolving, getting those students, those youngsters, as they're coming through in their apprenticeship programs, even before that, in their schooling systems. The United States would be a grade school and high school. Getting them exposed to these technologies and how it makes a difference to human health and also the environment.
Yes, I think the end consumer is also more educated currently because they can look at websites and also, let's say, assess some of the informations, but they need the plumber of giving them a certain direction or explain the technology behind it. So I think there's always a combination of it. But it's also important for us as an industry to inform on our website, for example, about the details, the products, and all that stuff.
I don't know, how is the English expression of Wärmepumpe or heat pump, is that right? Right. We have a big discussion in Germany, for example, because in media now there was a big report about plumber and heater, and they said we don't sell heat pump to the customers because we don't know a lot about that, or how to fix it, or to bring it into the system, and we don't know about the funding system of the government about that. And in the schools and the training centers, we don't train young apprentices in this field. So you need all the time heat. Heat is more important, fire and heat, etc. Is that a task we have to change? Is that a problem? Because other trades are taking over that, and now they sell heat pumps. Is that a task we have to change, and to change our training system?
I guess I'll go first. I would say we just need to update our training system. I don't know that we need to change it. We do certainly need to find a better way to connect with the next generation of people who are coming into our craft. But decarbonization is really the backstory behind why heat pumps are in the forefront. And fuel gas not being possibly an option for us in the future, and what are you going to do about it? And right now, the technology may not be fully there to address all the scenarios that are going to be vacated when fuel gas goes away, potentially. So anyway, it is definitely a unique situation where we do need to bring that education component, but the journey is evolving, and bringing them along with that journey is the only way to go. I don't think we have any other options.
I'm not a heat pump expert, but I have the same problem currently in the house. I have an oil tank still, and we need to update it now. So, and you talk to the plumber, you talk to the one who installed the solar system on the roof, you have someone helping you to get these fundings, and it's really a complex topic. If you're really not into it, you need someone really being the expert to connect the dots. And I think this also applies to apprenticeship at the end, getting all these different, let's say, work streams together, and know what you do, and how to work together really for, let's say, final solution for the customer at the end.
Does that help to attract young talents, young people to do an apprenticeship or to go in this field and to work in this field? Can the change of climate, the need for the future, help us to attract young people because we have to be more skilled, the trade is more attractive?
If I can start, going back to one of the discussion points we had where the young people who are looking to make a difference, and that's the hook that we need to connect with. And making a difference is having a more stable future, and how that individual impacts that space. And we're at a skills event. This is the plumbing event and WorldSkills, and what better forum to use to have a sustainability element to these projects, and have these people be part of that process of learning how to build these systems. We test it on them, and then have the expert be along for that journey, and then they go back home and they share that experience, that knowledge to build this ecosystem of change. This WorldSkills is a wonderful way to help educate and put a spotlight on how awesome plumbing is and why you should choose it as a career, and get involved in learning about how sustainability, changing the planet, and making things better health-wise for people are important for you in your career decision.
What's a really good hint and a good topic? The question, just to continue with that, is how can we, born in the last century, with our knowledge of today, train youngsters for the future? Is that possible? Or do we have to listen more to young people? You said that to us. You said there's a totally different philosophy, a different mindset in between the younger generation. The understanding of sustainability, protecting the nature, etc. is totally different to what we maybe think about. Do you think we have to listen more to the youngsters so we can educate more us for the future? And how can they influence your innovations and your way to work?
Well, I think what they mostly trust is their peers. I think their peers among their groups, we discussed that in the pre-discussion also, is one of the most influential elements for the younger generation probably. And I think everybody who is currently interested in climate change listens to the younger generation, all can see it on the street. I mean, you see the protests of Fridays for Future, you see the last generation who are blocking streets currently with some negative topics also to it, but also on the other hand, really taking action and shaking you up that we need to do something. And I hope that more people are buying in. I think nobody can neglect it. Sustainability is one of the priorities we also really focus on. But I think we can learn a lot from the youngsters also. But really reaching out to them, I think it's among their peers. We need ambassadors in their peers. We need the WorldSkills champions to champion for these topics on these ones. And I think these are the best ambassadors.
That's a good reaction or answer to my question. And that means we have to listen more to the youngsters?
I would say so. Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think they're much more aware when I'm, looking at my age, do they want to listen to me as a communications guy for running for an industry, big industry with 55,000, or do they want to listen to the one, here next to him?
Yeah. I can see some young people next to the bar in the back. Why should give us an answer about that? What is their feeling and topic about that? But I would like to ask the audience some more reaction, some question about that. So, if you look forward into the future, Thorsten, what kind of product innovations regarding solving the big climate changes you are facing now? What is in your mind if you have a big wish for the future? If you say we will bring in new products, and if you can have a decision on that, what is your biggest wish, and what role does young people play in that?
Well, I think as an industry, as we are working with the whole company on the total topic of house, a net zero house in every kind of direction, CO2 neutral, water positivity is something that really is aspirational for every one of us. So this is really something where we see the different areas. And it's still astonishing, and I know my boss here in Europe always said, why are we still flushing the toilet with fresh drinking water? Why do you need to do that? So find solutions where you don't waste water that is really crucial and really valuable and can be used otherwise, but not for flushing a toilet. So there are these different topics that have no big solution yet. I think something where the industry is really keen on finding solutions. And of course, young people, I want their energy, I want their expertise, I want their digital knowledge, and I want their first mind. I mean, everybody who applied for us in the last year said our sustainability roadmap attracted them to apply for a job at LIXIL in Europe or for the Grohe brand, which I think is quite, helpful to see this is on their radar first mind. It's one of the first sentences in the talk. So I think this is something that we see, and hopefully there are more and more people coming up in this direction.
How do you see that, Dave, in the future? How you think it is necessary, cooperation or partnership between industry associations like your IAPMO and your policymakers and the training centers, for example? How you think we should work together, and what is your biggest wish in that?
Well, my biggest wish is that we amplify what's happening right now. We got WorldSkills, we got the World Plumbing Council, we've got the manufacturers who are more global than ever before, working in collaboration to identify local and global issues, and working to identify the technology solutions that are going to address the issues of today. Let's face it, the days of building bigger dams, bigger pipes, deeper holes to find more water are gone. So we have to use what we have and use less of it. And because water sources are unreliable, water quality-wise, we also have to find ways to keep it clean and safe. So water filtration technology is probably, so working with industry to understand what's available and what's coming down the pipe, understanding the challenges we have that are different and new than what how we've solved them in the past. Deeper holes, bigger dams, bigger pipes, that's over with. And then putting that information in the classroom as these youngsters are evolving is the most important, crucial thing that we can do. And we're doing a little bit of that now, a lot of that now, and we're actually doing some social responsibility projects where we're taking technology that's just barely starting to get a foothold, putting it into a community where it can be evaluated, tested, but it's also giving benefit. And the youngsters are learning from that experience and they're giving us feedback on what may need to be changed to make it install easier. And then they're going back to their peers and talking about their experience, and it creates this infectious reaction. So anyway, that's a bit of a long, winding road that answers the question of yes.
For me personally, it is important to understand that the journey to be sustainable and to think about the future and the nature is not only a thing we experience now. You're right, the movements of Fridays for Future and Last Generation, etc., we are just now in a big public awareness. But as I told you, 40 years ago, I started to be involved in some movements and some clubs to do something for the future and to do sustainable things. My biggest wish is that all the generations to understand we are working together, and not one generation is saying about the other generations, you're doing nothing, no, we do that. I think we have to do it together, and as I understand, we need the sustainable concepts, and we need to understand that sustainability is a must and not a nice to have. It's not a better image for marketing, and your company shows us you're working on that because water is a need, and we already know there's a big conflicts. There are big conflicts around that, around the world because of water and drinkable water, fresh water. So my biggest wish is that we all can work together in a big partnership, all generations and all partners on every level, to find a sustainable future. Thank you so much for having the discussion round with me, or round table talk. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being our guests, to participate in that. I wish you all the best, and I wish all of us all the best for our future. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Give you a warm hand.